So Donald Trump is having a total meltdown in world trade today.
What's going on today?
Well, evidently he's freaking out, and as you know before, he was sending letters, right?
Are you sure he's freaking out?
I'm pretty sure he's freaking out because the latest threat, well, let's catch you up to speed, was 35% tariffs on Canada, right? And then he's saying if you don't get a letter, it's like 20 to 15%.
Yeah, but that itself is, 20 to 15 to 20, right?
Mm-hmm.
5% is really big. So he's not sure that, you
that's a
get
good point.
15, 20.
Right.
If you are like I love you, Trump, then you get the 15, and if you're not, you get the 20.
But you actually bring up a good point. Like the difference between 15 and 20 is actually significant when you're talking about, billions and trillions of dollars of
Sure.
trade, like massive amounts of money. The thing that's kind of nuts about this is that before they were talking about we're going to send a bunch of letters and stuff like that. And then they talked about, they used the word baskets. Like we're going to treat countries like category, like baskets. And now it kind of sounds like we're going to send out a few letters and I just give up. I'm not sending any letters and just you're going to be 15 or 20. Like what the heck is that?
Yeah, and actually, his staff, actually, they're working on it.
Yes, they are. So we actually do have people who try to do deals. Sure, absolutely.
And we sending people, China sending people, Japan sending people, but now it's all worthless.
Yeah, so this was the headline today, guys, which is even crazier. It just popped up. I'll read it. Vietnam surprised by Trump tariff announcement seeks lower rate. Like, when do you ever get these kind of ones where like a country is surprised? And do you know why they're surprised?
I thought they're talking about like 11% of tariff. I think they're not close, but they were almost close.
Like 10 to 15, so they're probably trying to go somewhere in the middle, right? And then here's the thing that's crazy. So we talked about this last week where Trump, he puts out a tweet or whatever. It says like, hey, I got to deal with Vietnam, right? And do you remember what Vietnam confirmed last week? There's basically one main thing they confirmed.
Yeah, they're talking about it.
Yeah, they confirmed the phone call.
Yeah, phone call. It's not deal. They're just having a phone call.
But yes, we talked to him, right? Yeah. Right. And so we got some new info from Bloomberg today on this, where it's pretty crazy to where basically after the phone call, the guy, the Vietnam trade rep, so it was To Lam, he's basically told the staff, okay, we're going to go for lower than 20 or whatever, and this is sort of the marching orders. And then Trump tweets out something, and they're kind of like thinking, like, we didn't say that. Like, that's not what we do. I think how crazy that is, guys. It's it's kind of like if you go on a date with someone, the way we describe it. And
then, it's not. We're not really in a relationship, but she's my girlfriend.
Yeah. The other thing that sometimes boys will do, and I'm sure they do every country in the world, they'll claim that they got real personal. Well, this you guys know, they will say spent the night. Some boys will make up that kind of crap.
Sure.
And then like, there's the boy who will always say this stuff, oh yeah, I was with that girl and with that girl and that girl. And you gotta like literally ask the girl.
It's not, you're talking about national trading.
I know, that's why it's crazy. So here's the other thing that's really interesting. You have to understand how countries' medias are different. So something like a China or Vietnam, they're communist, right? So they're gonna be different than say like the US, which has a free press. So here's the difference. In the Vietnam reporting, basically, they sent a press release to the news agencies because the government controls everything. And they said stuff like, okay, don't report anything that's unclear, right? And the other one was don't report anything that's like not confirmed by both sides.
Yeah.
So this is why you don't like hear news right away from a Vietnam or China. Trump tweets out something, right? And other countries don't say anything because the news can't speculate.
Yeah, but those kind of things, that's what the news does. News just always talk about fact.
Well, are you talking about news in general, or what do you mean?
News in general.
No. Because in the USA, much of our news cycle is speculation. So for example, the news of the day, so today's news is Trump, tweeted out, that's actual happened. He tweeted out that, 35% on Canada. And then essentially the rest of the day, you try to figure out like, okay, so what's going on here? Because there's questions with that. So there's a lot of speculation. So The difference is in Vietnam, they literally specifically say, don't report something that's unclear, don't speculate, don't guess, right?
Yeah, because their leader, like Vietnam leader, he just tweeted out his thinking. Well, you guys, Trump, he tweeted out everything, just everything he wants to say. That's the difference.
Right.
Even if it's not clear.
So right. So if you guys understand what we're talking about here is like normally you have like say a PR team, right? Like official statements from governments or whatever. And if there's no official statement, you don't literally just no comment. You don't just like wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning on the toilet and it's like and you don't want to do this because markets are involved, people's businesses are involved, people's lives are involved. But Trump is kind of I don't know. I mean, one could be you could argue maybe it's insider trading stuff.
Yeah.
There's certainly a possibility of that, right? The other is that he's just really nuts and doesn't think about other people at all, but it's no way to do business. So you brought up the good point because we talked about this before where if you're on the U.S. trade team and you're working for this, like your work is worthless, basically.
Yeah, why you even, work? Even if you really try to negotiate.
Right.
Just one Trump's tweet destroy everything.
Because that's how it was reported in Vietnam is they just kind of feel like, well, why are we even talking to the USA anymore, right? No, seriously, because like why even bother negotiate anything if Trump's just going to change his mind? Because you got a problem with this
you can't really trust anything USA saying, right?
This is and we're just telling you that, and that's just from Vietnam's perspective. Let alone Japan. So they were saying stuff like, I think you used the quote, "fight to the death."
Yeah.
Other things, right?
Ishiba said.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister Ishiba said that this is a fight for the national interest. Can we tolerate being looked down on? Of course they're not, right?
No, they don't want to be looked down upon. Why would you want to be looked down on?
Yeah. So they said we'll protect what we must protect.
Right. And that was actually it's interesting because you'll hear different similar themes from many countries. So for example, when China first started negotiations with USA, do you remember what they really wanted? The very beginning was like to even discuss, start, you must respect us.
Oh yeah.
Like seriously, this is how other countries
start the fight and you gotta close it.
Yeah, well they'll be like we'll finish it kind of stuff, right? So. Carney today, this is from Canada. I'll read Carney's statement. He said, throughout the current trade negotiations with the United States, the Canadian government has steadfastly defended our workers and businesses. We will continue to do so as we work towards the revised deadline of August 1st. And I also want to state here that Carney's writing doesn't have like weird caps in weird spots or weird capitalization in weird spots. Because like Trump will just use all caps all the time. It's like it looks like a child wrote it for Trump's side. So Carney doesn't do that, just to be clear. This is more what Canada has to say. Canada has made vital progress to stop the scourge of fentanyl in North America. We are committed to continuing to work with the United States to save lives and protect communities in both our countries. And here's the final. We are building Canada strong. So that's been their theme from Canada. The federal government, provinces and territories are making significant progress in building one Canadian economy. We are poised to build a series of major new projects in national interest. And here's the key. We are strengthening our trading partnerships throughout the world. Meaning that there are other countries out there other than USA.
USA, yeah.
And there's a similar theme with Vietnam as well. So who is Vietnam's biggest trading partner, do you think?
Probably China.
Yeah, it's not the USA, right? Korea, because Korea could certainly shift that direction also. Because for Korea, I think both the U.S. and China are kind of close.
Yeah, USA, China, they want to, they're
yeah, but easily Korea could just like, I'm not trading with the USA anymore, and I'm just going to trade with China. And overall, if you're in USA, this hurts you because if you get less goods from around the world, that means less choice. I mean, just practically speaking,
going high.
Yeah. So if you guys understand this, the Trump people try to say that the inflation is not happening.
Gonna happen.
Yeah.
Everything price is going down.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't believe that because the best way to describe it, and actually we'll talk cars, okay? So right now, do you know this? You should know. Can you buy a BYD in USA? Yes or no?
No.
Yeah, and you can't even see them in USA. So we saw BYD. That's a car from China, if you guys don't know, and actually Warren Buffett even invested in that company, but. We saw one for the first time here in Korea, and do you remember how much cheaper they are than the Teslas?
like half, like more than half.
Yeah. It's like half or more than the equivalent Tesla. And so just think about this in terms of markets. If something like a BYD comes to the US market, just for example, and there was, say, pretend there was free trade, there's not, but just pretend there is, like that puts a lot of pressure on other car companies to bring costs down. Now, from the consumer perspective, which would you rather have? Like a choice of a bunch of companies competing, and you can choose if you want to buy the cheaper car or not. Because in some cases, cheaper maybe not good. But so another word that people want to say is
sometimes you have certain budgets, so
sure.
Can you have a like you can save your more money?
But I wanted to mention that like we use two different words, so you can say cheap or inexpensive. So it has a different meaning because cheap kind of means like poor quality, and expensive just means lower price. So, the point being is you can choose where you think the best value is, right? Because, you don't have to buy an expensive car. If you want to buy an inexpensive car, you can. But the way that this is going to happen is if there's tariffs on foreign goods, like if the price of foreign goods are like double, are you going to buy it?
I don't know. Maybe not.
Right?
Yeah.
Why would you,
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is just there's this less choice for Americans.
And maybe the American company not gonna really put on the R&D,
Yeah.
Anyway, you have only one choice, you just put the old product, whatever.
So that's what happens with markets when you have less choice. There's less incentive for your local companies to keep innovating because the competition isn't there, right? So, you guys, I think everyone kind of know this inherently. That another good way to think about it, which is actually something that Americans don't know, there's a lot of clothing brands that aren't available in USA. There's really a lot. It's when you travel to Europe or travel to other places, you'll just notice, like, just for example, when you go to Europe, you see Topshop. You don't really see that so much in USA. It's just
because there's a lot of USA brand like Urban
right, and many American brands you don't necessarily see abroad.
Yeah.
I would say the American brands, like say the sports brands like Nike's everywhere. Tommy Hilfiger's everywhere. Ralph Lauren's everywhere. I think Hugo Boss is American. Is everywhere.
Hugo Boss and Michael Kors.
DNKY. I know we're talking about American, but like it's very fascinating when you guys travel. You'll notice like there are American brands everywhere around the world, but America actually blocks its markets to many companies. Or you could argue maybe Americans don't want to buy such things. Who knows, right? There's different reasons why companies come and don't come. It's one of the things that I was thinking about with this stuff is this whole tariff stuff that Trump is talking about. If he's saying 15 to 20 on everyone, before he was saying 10 on everyone, that's the minimum. That's going to be massive raises price raises for everyone. What's that?
If he's doing this kind of crazy stuff, he's pissing off other country, right? So they can do again like digital tax again.
They can totally do that.
And he's gonna you do that, I'm gonna raise more tariff. It's gonna be just numbers game.
So it's a trade war we're looking at, and essentially the last time the USA tried to do this kind of crap was 100 years ago, basically. The 1930s depression, and that's what we're talking about. So, I think we're in a different era than then for a couple of reasons, though.
Because back then, only few countries had a power, I think.
Oh, you could argue that.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely a different world than then. So you can certainly say more countries have more power. Yeah, you can certainly say that the supply lines are more connected, right? Because, like, say, for example, in the 30s, Vietnam wouldn't be a player that they are today. Like, Vietnam's like top 10 trade partner for USA.
We were
that's a good example.
Strong country before.
Right. So it's a very, very different world, and I think it's good to bring that stuff historically because from the American point of view, if you don't understand history, and many, unfortunately, Americans don't, and this is why we like education, is you have to understand that, like, post World War II, that was America's peak, right? Because everything else was destroyed. And where we are today, just a lot of countries developed. You guys come here, visit Korea, go visit Vietnam. If you've never been to Vietnam or even China, you'll be shocked like how much construction is there.
Everything's new.
Yeah. Vietnam just built a new subway and actually looks just like the one here. I was even surprised. I was like, what the heck? But that's the kind of innovation that's out there. And just for example, let's say 30 years ago, you never would have guessed, or I don't know if guess the right word, but at that time, let's say at that time better, is like China wouldn't make phones that could compete with iPhone, say 30 years ago. But today, they're totally fine. Like Chinese phones are totally fine.
30 years ago, people didn't know even, where is the South Korea.
Yeah, right.
They don't. Are you from North Korea? Every time people ask, "Oh, are you from North Korea?" What?
Right. Yeah. What the WTF, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing that's going on too today. It's just directly related. Okay, so first, the Trump basically makes all of the trade team people's work, useless, and they feel frustrated. It just naturally would. The State Department, right? So basically, foreign relations. The rumor right now is they're going to fire like 15% of the people.
Oof.
It's really a lot. I think it's like 2,000 people. Let me read a couple quotes here. So this is from a State Department employee, like how they feel. Okay. It says the department's leadership, so that's referring to Rubio, either doesn't appreciate or doesn't care about its workforce. The culture, that's the culture of the government right now. That culture comes from Trump. Right? And it goes then Trump picks people who are like that. They either don't appreciate or don't care about their workforce. And I just get really frustrated with this stuff, to be honest. I get really frustrated because I know I have friends who work in this stuff, like friends.
Yeah.
Like they work in, they work at embassies, or they work in international business, or they work in a number of things. There's a lot of really talented and decent people in USA. And it is disrespectful to treat people in this way. Because one of the things that was mentioned is the Trump people will just fire people with no reason. So you don't like they won't even tell you why you're getting fired,
I think
kind of stuff.
Now their culture is it's being king. They can do whatever they want. I don't like you, you fire.
It's like those movies. We watch Game of Thrones and stuff like that. If you make the king mad, there's like, send in the dragons, and the dragon's like, in movies it's like entertaining and funny, but like if you treat people like that in real life, I mean, like that's insane. And usually, the only reason that you tolerate it is because that's the king and they have the dragons. But we live in a democracy, and I know people get worried, like, some people are like, there's never going to be another voting. No, there's going to be midterms, and I promise you, this stuff is going to come back to bite people in the butt. Just think of it just logically speaking, okay? Logically speaking.
Well, before the voting day, I think USA is gonna, it's falling.
Well, yeah, I would agree with that. So I'm not gonna paint a rosy picture. No, I agree. There's things not so good. Like certainly you may see the cost of like stuff just like rise to the moon. Now, normally speaking, in a normal world, if the markets start like totally freaking out and people get out on the phone or be like, yo, you're costing me billions, like there's gonna be a group of like literally rich people that are gonna be like, dude, you're just like screwing up everything. So if not the voters, if the economy just really takes a dive, I think Trump's days are numbered, in my opinion. Because I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Do you think you can piss off all the rich people?
Why not? Tariff situation itself.
Right, but okay.
He's already broke up with Musk, right?
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, they were the bestie and lovers, but now they're they fight by each other, right?
You just made up a good point. I guess theoretically, but
now Bezos, they can
Yeah.
They can break up with Bezos,
Yeah, but how many rich people can you piss off before the game's over and the party's over? I mean, it's going to be...
And a lot of Wall Street people.
Yeah, so here's another one. So I want to bring in... So Yeji's making the case. Maybe there's still some rich people that'll go along with it. Because I'm telling you, if you hit people in the wallets, they don't like it, There's an article that just came out on CNBC today. Let me read the headline. It says, Asians are avoiding trips to the U.S. this year for a variety of reasons. Oh, God. Okay, so what do you think number one is? You have it right here. You can tell, what is it?
What is that?
It says concerns about discrimination, meaning that like people are racist.
Yeah.
So that's the number one reason people won't come to USA from Asia. Number two, Trump in particular. So the first one is more like American culture is racist, essentially. Two, they say concerned about disimmigration, but it's racist. Two, actions by Trump. Three is guns. 4 is cost, just too expensive to go to the USA. 5, tariffs. Border detention's also on there, meaning that I don't want to get arrested. I understand that. Another one, election by Trump. That's interesting because election by Trump and action by Trump is similar, but not exactly the same. So it's kind of like, as long as Trump's president, I'm not coming. Visa requirements. That means it's just too hard to even get the paperwork to come. And the last one is, my government basically told me not to come.
Yeah.
Travel advisory. So those are the reasons why people aren't coming. You know, people ask me about this stuff all the time, and I just tell you, I wrote a book about it. So oftentimes, and sometimes people don't know this. So there are Asian Americans living in the USA. So people do know that, kind of, depends on where you live. Some people actually don't realize it. They, you know, there's some people in the USA that have never seen the ocean, have never seen a subway, have never seen the Asian person. It's just the reality. That's America is a big place, and some parts of it are very different than others, right? So if you visit in New York City or in LA or something, you might be surprised. There's like quite a lot of Asian Americans in the USA. But in that regard, when I went to college, because I met a ton of Asian Americans, there are some Asian Americans that have never actually experienced real racism.
Yeah, because if they grow up, you know, those kind of big city, they have no concept of their racism.
Yes. So I bring that up, guys, because I really know. I wrote my book about this stuff. I'll just say this. I really know.
You were the only Asian in your town?
Yeah, there wasn't that many. There really wasn't that many, and it's a long story. But the point is, you know, why did I go into education? Why do we have these discussions every day? And why do I take things personally? Because I really know. I really know what it's like to be, you know, like the lowest of the low in USA, and I also know how to get out. You educate yourself, and once you kind of understand like all these things, like nothing's a mystery. You know, you know, like with a baby, they get upset.
They just cry.
Yeah, because they don't really understand. You know, there's a large portion of the population that kind of like that, where, and this is where it takes either, you know, I say good leadership, you call it good parenting, good education. Like you explain stuff to people. So simple example is, you know, we see it. Let's say for example, you see a baby at the restaurant or whatever, and the baby wants to have a lollipop or Coke or something, and the parent's like, no, you're not going to have one right now. Like sometimes you don't want to give your kid sugar.
Yeah, but what if you're you know, the baby has the most power in USA?
Right. And that's kind of what the Trumpy, that's a good point. So the Trumpy world is, but you know, there's your world is different when you understand that things are done for a good reason, and you have good leadership, that, you know, essentially good parenting. I bring up the parenting thing because it's kind of related, because like sometimes if you watch other channels, they just like, oh, I hate other Americans. So I don't want to treat it like that. I just think if you have better leadership, better parenting, right, the people can turn out okay, because people all want the same thing. They want to have a job. They want to have some stability. Like, who does, you know, you guys understand this stuff. You don't want costs to skyrocket to the moon. And you know, when I read through it, because I got to read through, because we read through everything every single day. You know, the situation with Trump, it's getting worse. I just don't think this is sustainable.
But you know,
you can't run.
Things getting worse, but he thinks everything's fine. But who support Trump, even if their wife and mom is arrested, they still support Trump.
Yeah, but it's not sustainable, because okay, it's true. So even if say 20 to 30% of the people live in some weird cold fantasy land, that's still 70% that don't. Right, and if the Fantasyland people, if they're gonna sink, they're gonna sink. You can't, you know, you can't spend your time worrying about that. But here's the thing: before, there are a lot of people who were like, "Oh, I just hate that Obama. Oh, just Obama." And then when Obama say passes Healthcare Act, and people say go to the hospital, and like, hey, I can afford it, they don't necessarily like, oh my God, Obama's awesome, but they don't complain about healthcare costs anymore. Do you guys see what I'm saying?
But they still complain about.
Oh, sure, there's lots of stuff to complain about. But the point is like, even if people don't admit it, like here's a simple example. You know, we talked about, say, with cost of stuff. If I could just come in and wave my wand, and suddenly cars were, you know, 30% less, or suddenly you have public transportation that's like free, you'll use it.
Yeah, and you go to hospital.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's an example, and this relates to, you know, what we were talking about in Vietnam when they did their public transit. They had a holiday recently, and they made it free. And it was interesting because, like, before, no one really knew if Vietnamese were going to use it, because they just hadn't really had like a subway system before. Like no one knew, and like there's like a line to get in the subway when they did it free that day, and the basically introduction to the how the system works. And they were concerned about, you know, are people going to behave properly, correctly? But like, you teach people how to do it. When they first introduced the subway in Korea, do you remember the videos on that stuff?
First day, you mean?
No. When the era when they first
era, people, just how can I say, jump to the.
They jump over the gate.
Yeah, the
basically.
gate. Yeah.
They didn't know how to like behave, and they tried to cheat the system. But now, like none of that stuff happens. So the point I'm trying to say is that there is a future. There will be midterms, and if you have the right leadership in place, which I can't guarantee you, that's why you got to get out and vote. You have to get out and participate. Because sometimes I see people argue and say, "Oh, politicians are saying no." It's just not true. Some politicians are better than others. It doesn't mean every politician is perfect. It doesn't mean you're going to agree with everyone. But
there is a better choice.
Yes. And the other thing is too, trust me, I really know. There's going to be people out there that will say, oh, well, I know Trump's bad, but I just couldn't vote for a woman. Ooh, why could I vote for, ooh. There's going to be people like that, right? But that's the old world of thinking. And the more you get this Trumpy world, and again, go back to the Obama thing, maybe people will never admit that Obama is like, hey, you didn't do that bad. The culture will change because the younger people are, again, will see it with their own eyes. And it's kind of funny because this is something that I never thought I'd see in my lifetime, the USA go down this low. I just
who could imagine?
Yeah, I mean,
it's USA.
Yeah, we have problems with the USA, but I didn't, because that's why I wanted to bring up the point of when we start firing people, like, guys, there are some good people in the USA that serve the country, and you're getting rid of good people, and that's where it's completely unsustainable.
What's that? You fire good people, you hire bad people.
Yeah, essentially, right.
Yeah, that's another problem.
It's unsustainable. So when things break down, people do get mad in USA. They do. And they'll show it at the polls. I promise you. So that's what's going on. I want to hear you guys' thoughts, and we'll catch you on the next video. So bye.